Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I'm going to be repotting this little miniature today into some Better Grow premium grade orchid moss. I just need to add some to the top of the pot and to the bottom of the pot. As you know, this is my little miniature that I repotted about this time last year. It actually says April 20th, 2017. And I didn't put any holes in the bottom of this, just wanted to see how it would do. I really wasn't thinking that this little miniature was going to make it, and it did so well in this moss. So today, it needs a new home. So I have prepared everything for me to repot. I'm rehydrating some of my beautiful orchid grade moss here. I've got its new home. My husband drilled holes in the bottom of this for me. And I've got some charcoal chips down in the bottom of this container. In my Better Grow potting mix, it has bark and perlite and charcoal. And I thought just to improve the drainage, I'm going to put a little bit of charcoal down in this and we'll see how it does. So I'm going to be repotting this let me show you the type of moss I use. Better Grow premium grade orchid moss. That is what this one is already growing in. And I got those charcoal chips that I just showed you from this mix. I just opened the bag, looked around for some of those charcoal chips, and that's what I'm going to be using on the bottom. Not the bark, I don't want to use the bark, but I do want to use the charcoal that is in this mix. Before I start, I sterilize my scissors with some alcohol. I also look over my directions on my orchid moss bag, and it tells me to avoid letting the orchid moss completely dry out between the waterings. And also, you want to wear gloves when you're handling any natural growing media. Okay, so I have rehydrated my moss for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to just kind of undo the trappings here where this is blooming. I don't think that this repotting is going to bother this little phal at all, that I'm just going to undo everything. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of this. I'm going to squeeze out the excess water from this moss. Of course, if there's excess water, I've got the holes on the bottom this time, so that's good. And I'm going to pack it lightly. It tells me on my packaging not to pack this too tightly, or there won't be any air that will be able to get to the roots. So I'm not going to pack it really tight, just light and airy is the words that you want to keep running through your mind. Okay, does that look like a good enough amount of moss? Let's put just a little tiny bit more. Well, let's see, just a little bit more in there. Level it off. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the moss. I can see it very clearly throughout this whole pot. It's all pretty, it's green, and all of the roots that I see are very healthy. So I don't think I'm going to need to trim anything, but I'm going to take it out of this pot. Actually, I think I'm going to water this first. It's going to help me to get it out of there better. A note. Do you see how this little root right here has just started out? That shows that there's new root growth in this miniature phalaenopsis. That's the best time to repot your phals, is when you see new root growth starting to emerge. Okay, I'm going to water this. Okay, I'm going to let that set for a few seconds. Okay. Okay, I want to take this over to the sink and drain it. Okay. All right. See, this is one reason why I have to go ahead and repot this, is because every time this water drains out from the top, a little tiny bit of moss goes with the water. So that's the reason why. Okay, that's what I've got so far. And I'm just going to see if I can lift this out of here. Here we go. Oh, now this is interesting. I've never done it this way, and there's nothing to push this out with. So I'm going to have to think about this for a minute. Okay, here we go. It just lifts right out. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so that's what I've got. And all of the moss looks absolutely beautiful. It looks like new moss, actually. And you see where some of it has turned green? This is beautiful. It still smells wonderful. It still smells fresh. So I'm good to go. I'm just going to be adding to what I've already got right here, so I don't have to disturb the roots, and that's wonderful. Okay, the only root that I see here is this one right here. And this was like this when I put it in the moss last year, so I was keeping an eye on it. But I want to remove that mushy root right there. All the rest of them, I've gone all the way around. All the rest of it looks really, really good. So that's the only thing, and I need to take this. Okay. Make sure you feel with your fingers where the mushiness is, and only remove the part that's really mushy. Just like that. Maybe one more little cut. This part, really take your time on. Okay, the rest of it looks perfect. Yes, that's what I wanted to see. I found one more little mushy area right here. This right here. I'm going to trim that off as well, just right up to the healthy part of the root. Okay, and that should do it. Okay, this little root right here is an air root, and I have been wondering if I'm going to put it in the container. I don't think it's going to fit very well, so that's going to stay just outside the container. That should not be a problem. Okay, so this is how much I have of the moss in this cup. I've got the charcoal pieces on the bottom that won't break down. Okay, so we're good to go. Like I said, the charcoal on the bottom is just something to kind of help improve the drainage, which I think is a good thing. So do you see how no roots are disturbed at all with that? I just think that's absolutely fabulous. I love using media that you can work with and that it's long lasting. And I'm just going to fill in. And I have done this before with my Cattleya. My Cattleya has been repotted 3 or 4 times in the past 12 years. It was in beautiful moss when I bought it, and I just continued to add to it. Now, it's only possible if you use the orchid moss. If you have regular brown basket moss, you can't do this. You have to break down every single time. If you're using regular brown moss, you have to bare root the plant. But with this, as you see, you just add to, and it doesn't disturb the roots. And this little miniature is not going to have any type of transition shock, no repotting shock at all. I'm going to make sure that that little root that's starting there has some brand new moss to put its feet down into. Orchid grade moss, New Zealand Spangam moss is a wonderful thing to grow orchids in. You just have to make sure you get the right kind of moss. And I believe that's a wrap. I think she looks very pretty in her new home. Thank you all for going on this journey with me. And you all just be highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed. And we'll talk to you all next time.